Cool. Well, I'm ready when you guys are.
Yep. So, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Latte Night. With
Hit
our
record.
I hit record this time with our guest. Very thankful to have you on. Cosplayer, host of live action role play. You might know her from LA by Night, Miss Cynthia Marie. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi.
As you can see, we're at a
Thank
loss
you so
for
much for
words.
having me.
Oh, absolutely. So, basic thing that we like to start off all our guests with is just to get to know you a bit because the community is primarily tabletops. What's your earliest experience with tabletop, and what was your first game? How was that for you? Just like your earliest
So
thing.
my first experience tabletop specifically was a little game called Changeling the Dreaming back in college. So about 10,
Okay.
more than 10 years ago. Yeah. So I played an issue, which full circle. I actually they just released By Night Studios just released their Changeling the Dreaming LARP rule book. There we go. I got all the words out. And it features my issue that I played for the first time ever. So I get to represent issue. So I chose to play the character that I created 10 years ago, which is my first tabletop character ever.
Was that the thing you posted on Twitter about the photo
Yeah.
shoot? Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I was wondering about that. Nice.
That's my first character ever.
So you've been playing for a while. How have you found it? Like how has it affected you? Because sometimes it affects people different ways, and the reason why they stay and keep playing is different from person to person. So how has it affected you that you 10 years later still enjoy this hobby?
So it's kind of a twofold thing for me. So when I first started, it was just a magical world of being able to explore with my friends and get to release some of the stress that I was experiencing in art school. So I graduated with a bachelor's degree in fine arts as a dancer. And so I wasn't playing consistently for the 10 years that I had initially first started. I would say the consistency of tabletopping for me started about 3 years ago when I started playing with Satine on Sirens. So having gone from being a mostly professional dancer to going into live stream, kind of helped bridge the fact that I was getting older and not being able to dance as frequently or as well as I would want to. So for me, it's been kind of a relief to transition into another art form without having to be so physically demanding on my body. And now just being able to play with everybody, even in a private setting, is just so much better for me as a stress reliever, and being able to just kind of leave the current situation of the current world that I deal with on a daily basis. So it's been a nice switch from creativity into kind of a stress-free creative environment.
Yeah, nice. I'm actually a pretty big fan of Sirens. Just the whole when I only heard about 2 years ago, but when I was told by my friend, it's an all bard group. It's how are they still alive?
Hey, yeah, there's some things there. I actually just got off the phone with Satine, so yeah.
I wanted to ask you that your Satine is the DM for that group, and she's amazing, and she's been here for longer than pretty much any of us with this hobby. It's and of course you're on LA by Night with people like B. Dave Walters, Erika Ishii, and Jason Carl himself is running it. So I wanted to ask if you've ever really felt worried or kind of jitters being around these people who've been doing this for so much longer than you. Did you ever feel nervous or anxiety knowing that you're going to be a part of this community and you're going to be part of a much larger thing?
Literally every time I go on camera, I have a panic attack. I deal with anxiety and depression. I was actually diagnosed about 2 years ago with generalized anxiety disorder and depression. With my therapist, I've been working through. Literally every time I go on LA by Night, I have a bit of a panic But I will adjust and say, not because I'm playing with B Dave or Erica or Alex or Jason, because all of those people have been in my life for better part of a decade. So it has nothing to do with the people, but rather being at a standard of performance that the audience enjoys. It's that pressure. And ensuring that I know the rules well enough so that somebody doesn't go, oh, she doesn't know the rule. She didn't do that right. Like it's that kind of stuff that kind of like start right. Like so it's just a mounted pressure of, oh God, am I doing this correctly? Are people going to enjoy that? But at the end of the game or at the end of the day, it's my character's choice that's doing that, right? Like these aren't scripted shows. These are our actual role-playing games. Like you are actually watching us role play. And sure, like on some of them we'll get a very brief outline of like you've got to go to this point, to this point, to this point. But all of that interaction, and sometimes we don't even get to that point. But all of that interaction it's not scripted. So like when you see magic moments in there, it truly is because our emotions are really prevalent there. And I guess part of my panic and anxiety actually sometimes helps in that situation. So I don't know how caught up you guys are in LA by Night, but in season 2, when my character gets staked, spoiler alert.
Yep.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Brutal.
No,
I was sitting off stage, like getting myself to cry, and so I actually used a little bit of what I was feeling emotionally to bring that forth on the screen when they finally let me on. I was sitting on the side like for that first like hour 45 minutes, and they were like talking about Nellie, and I was like, "Excuse me."
I'm right here.
Yeah.
No, we're caught. We're patiently waiting for season 5, to be honest.
Yes, we're all caught up. Big fans.
Me too. Oh, thank you.
Go ahead.
It is such a fun show.
It is. And by the way, your anxiety and all of that, your worry does not show on camera at all.
It really does.
Yes. It does.
Thank you.
So much. Jay, I think you want to ask?
So I will give you guys a little bit of a secret. I don't think I've really actually said it in any other interview. But the utilization of Nellie's sunglasses actually was for part of my anxiety attacks. So anytime I was getting panicked, I would put the glasses on so like I could kind of zone out and like refocus how I was feeling. So if you guys watch like a lot of season 1, I had the glasses on a lot because I was just sitting there like,
It really doesn't show. I just
Still
thought he
doesn't show.
looked fabulous.
Thank you. I have fabulous makeup artists who just like paint on the resting bitch face for me.
The entire time we're watching, it's like he puts on the glasses. Like all we think is, "Damn, she's cool," and "Damn, she's badass." Like this is a badass woman right
You
here.
pulled it off so well.
Jay, I think you want to ask something once you're okay.
Just needed to get that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to ask because through the rest of the seasons, Nellie grew into a very strong woman, to say the least. I would like to know, you as a person, how did you conceptualize Nellie G's character, and did you have her development planned out when you started making her? Because that was amazing.
Okay. Thank you. So her development, I think I've mentioned this before in a couple of other interviews or written word. Nellie was originally supposed to be a Tremere. Because I really wanted to play with like all of the magics and stuff like that. Yeah, she was originally conceptualized as a Tremere. As Jason and I were progressing down, I think it took like two and a half weeks because we were doing all of the character mapping and stuff like that. Like it just wasn't clicking. Like there was just like too many like different things that I was trying to pull off, and it wasn't cohesive. So a fall evening after we all did the escape room, I think you got there may have been a picture of us doing a vampire escape room.
I think I saw that on Twitter.
Jason and I kind of, how did it happen? He showed me the Toreador dice box, and I was just like, this isn't fair. I love Toreador. Like, I've been LARPing as a Toreador, and I was like, how am I not being a Toreador right now? He's like, you should stay true to yourself, girl. So, I mean, not in those kind of words, but basically that's how it was. And so we reimagined. I was like, okay, you know what? For shits and giggles, let's write Nellie's as a Toreador, like just to see like how the powers line up and stuff like that. it took us like 30 minutes or less to literally pull together Nellie, and I was just like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be the Toreador. Like, this was too easy to pull together. So Nellie is quite a bit of an extension of me. I call her my drag persona, because like a lot of, obviously, all the decisions she makes is obviously me as a player. Like the way, oh gosh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine.
Phone call in the middle of that, jeepers. A lot of what I say and do is really that, like, that extended persona that, like, you kind of wish that, like, you were that person out in the world. I mean, not that mean, but like, yeah, like I kind of like to be to talk about her as like my extended persona. So as far as her character development goes, like, I did not see it coming. I thought I was just gonna be this like awesome like
Fashion model.
like yeah. And when Erica stepped in for the first time, I lost it. I felt like that was like a family member of mine, like almost like a sister or a daughter or something like that. So I leaned in hard to the whole like Mom Tisha idea, and I just kind of just went with it. So it wasn't that I was planning all these different things, as opposed to maybe some of the other people who may have been planning things. I was kind of just going with the flow, with the situation, and it kind of evolved into this magical awesomeness that we all like know Nellie today. And I guess it's also like due in part to like what I'm dealing with as a personal level, like growing as a woman as well. Like, yeah. So
it's funny that you mentioned wanting to be Tremere, because the first time Nellie was out, it's like there were powers being discussed, and then I think the first thing that I heard you use is when you visited Ava in the observatories, that you could climb the insect thing of the insect, I think is what it's called. Yep. Yeah, and it was like, wait, why does she have that? And I looked at that and said, no, that's a Toreador Rose. Like, my first instinct was like, oh my god, did she commit diablerie? Oh my god, it's like
that's the first thing I thought of as well.
and then when Alex Ward's when Jasper confronted you, is like basically insinuating, I was saying, oh shit, did she actually do it? It's like, no, she didn't. Now I want to know who taught her this. It's like so many mysteries. I wanted to ask, actually, because we had V. Dave Walters on the other day, and we asked him how different Victor Temple is from himself, and immediately before I even finished the question, he just said, "Oh, it's me." Like, that's me. I was like, so I want to know, you already said that Nellie's like an extension of yourself, but how close is she to you, Cynthia Marie? Like, how close is she to you if you were in the same situation? Like, if you were going to put yourself in the same shoes as where she is that how you would be? Is like how you're responding? Is that really how you would respond if it was you and not the character?
I would say she is 99% me. I would venture to say that Cynthia has maybe a little bit more tact when it comes to speaking with people, whereas Nellie, the one rule that I really do try to have is if I have that thought of like, fuck this character, like Nellie's gonna say it, like fuck you, you know. Whereas Cynthia would be like, I'm not gonna say that, but but all of the fight stuff, yeah, that's all completely me. The fashion, that's all of my closet for the most part. It's not costumed by anybody else. That's all me. Yeah, it's about 99% me.
I'm still so happy to know that you actually have your own wardrobe, and it's just gorgeous.
They all look so gorgeous, especially the crown. I really love the crown.
It was.
Oh yeah,
beautiful.
It's in my car. Thank you. I just added extra rhinestones to it. It's in my car somewhere. I gotta find it.
DJ.
Okay. One of the common mistake by new players is that they are not talking about their characters well enough with their DMs, with their lore keepers. Can you share to us how you talk about character development for Nellie Chi with Jason? How much involved?
Okay. So character development, I would say pre-game for season 1 and season 2. Season 3 was a little bit harder, and season 4 just everything that was going on. But I'll hone in on season 1 and season 2. Like, we definitely have a lot of conversations about where we see characters going in that particular time frame. So Jason knew that he wanted to tell a ghost story at some point. And that's kind of where we started developing Nellie's name. So Petronella Griffith is an actual historical ghost in Griffith Park. And so I was, thinking I always have a hard time with names. So I was really thankful that he kind of gave me this part on a silver platter. So we kind of reinvented, like, how would Petronella, like the name Petronella, like sound in modern day times. So that's kind of where I came with Nellie G. And then having been a little bit of a model way back in the day, I very much enjoy the modeling world. So started developing like what that would look like, and like, oh, it'd be really cool if she was kind of like an assassin type character. So kind of like started throwing that in, and so I have like what's called the thespian spy. I think that's like one of the like archetypes for Toreador that they can go down in V5. So we kind of leaned into the like thespian spy stuff, which is where you kind of get where Abrams and Nellie kind of focus in on. Yeah. So in terms of like how much detail do I talk about Jason, I talk to him every day. Like during that whole development, it was just shooting like one-liners like, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about this? And he's like, cool. Maybe not that idea, but cool. Like, so as the seasons developed, and making decisions based off of what happened in previous seasons, it just became like super easy, which is why I was saying within 3 and 4, even though like our schedules are really chaotic, having the one-time meeting of like, hey, these are the points that we kind of want to meet with Nellie's arc. Is there anything that you specifically want to meet? And then it kind of just evolves from there. So advice to people who maybe struggle with character development is write your character, like, and then just really talk up to your DM about like what story that they want to tell as well, because it's a two-way street with your storytelling. It's not just a GM story. And it's not just a player story, it's both of your stories. So write your character how you think you see them, and then communicate with your GM of these are the goals that I want. And if it falls in line, great. If not, then be willing to kind of like flex and move around.
That's actually really good, because I DM for these guys literally every day. We have some sort of game running every day. I wanted to ask, do you I'm actually forgetting how to put this into words, but yeah, there. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched LA by Night yet, but it's been years. Come on, catch up. Because
catch up.
V-Day Walters was telling us about how a lot of the things that are happening really aren't planned out, and it's mostly on the spot, and that's how we expect RPGs to be played. So I wanted to ask, the decision to kill, again, spoilers, Chaz, was that really done in that discussion that you guys were having, or was there at least some footnote from Jason's like, hey guys, this is an option? Is that
no footnote from Jason. Definitely not a footnote. It was a very large statement from Cynthia Marie, who was like, I think the first time Chaz showed up and leaves at the end of the episode, like when we're all like kind of talking about it, I literally told everybody, it's like, I'm killing Chaz. I'm killing him. And Jason's like, well, like, hold on, like, well, I was like, no, I'm killing him.
To be fair, you should have seen it coming.
Right? I adore Mark Meer. I think he's the most incredible actor. I was super nervous to kind of sit next to him, and he was just like, he was gung-ho and incredible. But that decision on screen, it was talked about off screen. Like, I'll be real, like, we talked about it. Like, I was literally like, I'm killing him. Like, I don't care what y'all want to do. I'm gonna go kill him. So did I answer your question on that one?
Yeah,
like...
absolutely. And you're absolutely right about Mark Meer. It's like, he's so talented because his character is a complete ass. But when I see him playing it, it's like, I actually like this guy. I'm actually feeling sad that you killed him. It's like, Oh,
I know.
I started.
Oh, we lost Jay.
He'll
Yeah.
be back in a bit. It actually just makes me feel bad. It's like he died. It's like, oh, he's an asshole. He deserved it. But I really liked it.
Aw.
I really liked how he played him. I think
Yeah.
Yeah, he should have seen it coming though,
Um,
as Chaz.
I think PJ wanted to ask something about that scene actually, specifically.
Yeah, it's can you give us an insight on when you delivered that line? I'm so sorry, I fucking loved you.
I'm a smallest.
Yeah.
It might have.
Oh.
It might have been.
uh,
It may have been nothing to you, or it may have been something, but to people watching, that
Yeah.
was a heavy impact.
Heavy.
Yeah, people who like chess.
Like, just-
So that development of that relationship kind of derived a little bit of what I actually faced in a real life relationship a long time ago. So that specific line, I don't remember saying it. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I remember practicing what I would say to the person who hurt me in the past, and that's kind of what came out.
Mm.
So.
Oh. Sorry, if I actually want to tangent off of that because I personally don't mind sharing that on the same boat when I was like over 10 years ago. I was also diagnosed with like anxiety and depression, and it was actually D&D that helped me get through it in the sense that I was shy and timid. I couldn't speak out. 10 years ago, if you told me I had to go on a webcam and interview people like you, I would just panic and probably faint. And then it's like, I made characters that were charismatic, charlatans, talkers, and it grew on me. So I wanted to ask you, how has tabletop been effective? Not a replacement for therapy, but how was it a supplement to therapy and treatment? How did it make you feel a little better day by day?
So there was something that my therapist taught me. It's called changing the channel. I have a hard time, not necessarily focusing, but like I end up kind of like spiraling into my own thoughts. And I think most of us who have these issues understand the like, oh God, life sucks. Oh my God. And then like you just like spiral into like this whole situation. So she taught me a tool called changing the channel, that when you have this thought is to immediately change your perception into something else. So with gaming, what has helped me is being able to exactly do that, is change the channel of like, you're not Cynthia Marie anymore, you're Girasolo or you're Nellie. Like stop those thoughts, because you got to just focus on being that character. So it's kind of helped me to learn how to use that tool better, and being able to breathe in situations. So
is there ever something that you put into your characters that is either a part of you that you want to enhance, or something that you want to learn? Because like I said, for me, I wanted to make a character charismatic so that I could learn how to be that. So what is it for you? It's like, do you put anything in your characters that isn't you, that you want to be you? Is that something that you do, or?
I approach my characters more of as an extension for me. It's not necessarily what I like want to learn off the bat. Like I learn as the game happens. Like I've been learning how to negotiate a lot better because of gaming. So that's not something that like I would put in my character, right? Like it's just it's a happenstance within the situation. I think I actually put more things that I like would aspire to be like. So a lot of my characters are fighters. They're like super strong women, like who don't need anyone to help them. Like they're just like a big, broad, like tank type character, because like I like being a strong female warrior. I grew up doing combat stuff with my dad and doing stunt training. That's actually how I met Alex for the first time. So it's always just kind of been a part of me. So I always build characters that I feel comfortable with, so that when I get into uncomfortable situations, I at least know how to react, rather than being in an uncomfortable character in an uncomfortable situation just equals like, nah, like I don't want to be there.
Jay, I think you want to ask?
Yeah. I would like to ask because as from one cosplayer to another, does it apply when you wear your costumes? When you put on a clothes, everything just changes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So my first character ever that I cosplayed was Huntress back in when did I graduate? Back in like 2002. And they asked me to be Huntress, and I did a whole bunch of research on Huntress, read all of her comic books, freaking fell in love with her. And the first time I ever put on the full rubber suit, straightened my hair, put the mask on, like I felt like a completely different person, like walking around like super broody and like all this kind of like, it just felt cool. But I would say that one of the biggest transformations for me was actually putting on the Wonder Woman armor.
That was gorgeous.
Thank you. I'm a happy-go-lucky, like usually, like pretty, like optimistic person. When I walked out as Wonder Woman for the first time, and the heels weren't that tall. I'm generally about 5'5" and a half, so the heels were about 4 inches, so 5'5", 6, 7, 8, 9, about 5'9". So like I'm not as tall as like normal like dudes, but I was pretty tall. But the first time I came out like super like jacked with my muscles and everything, and everybody looked at me and they were like, "Whoa!" It was the first time that I was just like, I feel like Wonder Woman. Like, this is incredible. And to see the little girls look up in awe of like, this is like the hero that like I like, she just came out of the bathroom. I was just like, this is the feeling that I enjoy. I love being this big tanky hero for strong women or strong girls or even strong men or anybody to look at and be like, that's the kind of person that I aspire to be. So yes, it does change me.
I think it's what I'm getting is that it's really about being a role model for you, isn't it? It's like you want to be, especially for young women who need someone strong to look up to, someone they can aspire to be. So it's mostly about being a role model. And honestly speaking, vampires and killing and criminal activity aside, Nellie G is kind of like one of the epitomes of strong woman. It's like, yeah, she has this relationship with Victor, but at the same time, no, she doesn't need him completely. It's a give and take thing. My question is that because I am very curious, and I'm fairly certain you're probably not going to give me a straight answer for this, but what is the relationship between Nellie and Victor? What is going on there? Because I'm
what is it?
It's so vague.
I've been so curious since I started watching. It's like just tell me what it is.
Tell you what, but there's no fun in that.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I thought that you weren't gonna answer. It's like
so they're very flirty. They've known each other before Immortal Life, and they're gonna know each other well after into Immortal Life. So why define it?
True. It was about as much of an answer as I was expecting
like
to
the
get.
mom and the dad, then suddenly like the dynamic changes and they're also perfect. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but what about Greg?
Oh yeah, that's really adorable as well.
I was trying not to.
Cute. I'm so sorry.
I was like, I already had enough with
That's cute.
Nellie and Victor not knowing what's going on when Abrams came in, and now there's Greg. It's like
Greg.
Oh, and now there's Nines.
Oh yeah, that
oh
one too.
right.
Yeah. Oh my.
Oh,
The motorcycle scene.
Nine's picking up Nellie on motorcycles. Ah.
And then there's also oh my god, why is her name escaping me now? Oh my god, Seneschal.
Fiona?
Seneschal.
Oh, Suzanne.
Oh yeah, the Seneschal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nellie's got a lot going on.
She really does.
That's actually a good point. That thing with Suzanne, the whole thing that happened, I know it was triggered by an ability, but everything after that, was that something? Was that just politics? And I'm pretty sure you're not gonna give me another straight answer, but
Who knows?
figured. So bringing back to VTM and just the general not knowing of what's gonna happen next and the whole planning, was there anything that happened in game or during the games where it was supposed to be planned and there was something that was supposed to happen, but because of how interactions went that night, it did not happen. Like the opposite was there's something that got derailed. And basically what I'm asking is, have you ever made Jason Carl facepalm whether off screen or not?
I mean, I definitely think we make Jason Carl face crack every episode. But he's so good at moving with us, and that like I don't think there's ever really been a moment that's like truly been, well, okay, I could think of one, but I don't know, I can talk about that one because nah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just always been really good at maneuvering with us. So it's never been like, oh god, he derailed my whole story. I have no idea what to do. There may be a couple of points where he's like, we might need to like kind of retcon or like figure out how like we fit this into stories, but it's never been like earth shattering. That's it. We can't play this anymore. You broke it. Goodbye. Like, he's always been really good about moving with us.
Speaking of moving with you, there was this one thing that always stuck with me. Is the first time, I think it was the first time X was introduced, and there was this conversation about how he dropped literal shit on the fashion show she was doing, and
Yep.
I wanted to know if was that an on-the-spot thing, like someone came up with it and the other one just played off of it, or did you guys talk about this backstage? Like, I think this would be a good twist to what our relationship is like.
That was on the spot.
Oh my God.
That was definitely on the spot. I mean, we had talked about like X having come out and had done something, didn't realize that Xander was going to drop that. Yeah.
Then I commend you for your ability to think on the spot. It's like someone drops something like that and you just pick up on it so naturally, because it doesn't feel at all like you flustered. It doesn't feel at all like you paused for a bit. It's like, oh shit, what do I do with this information? What did he just say? It's like it just went on. It honestly, it felt like felt like watching a show that, I mean, a TV show that had a script, because it felt so natural and these were just actors playing the part. And to find out that I was on the spot, that was okay.
Yeah, I mean, Xander is so easy and amazing to play off of that. Like, it just, everything feels natural when he's aboard. So, yeah.
Yeah. I would like to ask, since we're on the topic, one of the things that I like in LA by Night are the epilogues. And can you give us an advice on how to make that one-on-one dialogue not boring? That's a very long, around 30 minutes or something.
Like 30 minutes to an hour of two people.
Yeah. We are really in it, to be honest.
It's not easy for me. I'm again gonna only speak for myself here. I have never been the dialogue person or the monologue person. I've always struggled with words because I'm a dancer first and foremost, so I can emote with my face, I can emote with my body, but you tell me to like speak and I'm like, so when Jason's like, yeah, we're gonna do an hour with just you, I was like, oh, fuck me. Like, so it's the way I've kind of approached the dialogue again kind of goes back to how I approach my panic attacks of like changing into Nellie, and like just living in the moment is probably the easiest way to explain it. And I've been fortunate enough to have amazing people to work with that it made it that much easier. So it was never like, oh, I'm trying to fill the space because I'm the only person here. It's been interacting and just saying what's on my mind. And then all of a sudden an hour goes by and I was like, I wasn't done yet.
That's really give and take between you and the person you're interacting with. Both have something to the table.
Yeah.
It's funny because you keep mentioning that you kind of tune out and switch the channel and all, but obviously that's a lot easier said than done. So I wanted to ask just personally, how long did it take, and this is stepping away a bit from tabletop, but you as a person, how long did it take for you to learn that skill? Like, how long did it take to pick up on that, where now it just becomes second nature to do it?
I'm still learning. It's not easy. I had several panic attacks actually this entire week, and working on trying to change the channel became increasingly difficult. So I'm always learning how to manage my anxiety and my depression and my panic attacks. But when it comes to working professionally, there's a point in time where you have to make a decision of, yes, I want to do this because this fulfills me, or no, this doesn't make me happy. I don't need to do this anymore. And so when it comes to live streaming or gaming for me, it's something that's fulfilling for me, and it's something that's exciting for me. So why am I getting panicked about it? Like, this is something that should be joyful and stress-free. So I make the decision to push past how I feel by using the tool of changing the channel. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I'm sitting.
Oh. I think lost her for a bit.
Yeah. Oh.
Double check 1 second. We'll be back. Oh my
It
god, you're
worked.
back.
That was
Thank you.
weird. That was weird. I don't know why it cut me off like that.
I'm
Technology.
sorry, Discord is sometimes a problem.
Yeah.
All right, so
It is what it is. So where was I talking about? Anxiety, depression.
like how do you deal with it? How you cope with it, manage
Yeah.
it?
So still dealing with it. It's never gonna really go away.
Yes.
It's real tough. But at the end of the day, it's really about what decisions that you want to make for you to stay healthy in your life, right? Like, don't force yourself to do something that you don't want to do. Listen to your gut instinct, because sometimes your panic attacks actually are a reason that your body's like, hey, no, we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, it's not always irrational, right? Sometimes there's a
Right.
reason why it happens.
Yeah. So I would just say try to stay as in tuned with your body and try to stay as stress-free as possible.
All right. Teach me.
Yeah, I just like to ask, where do you get courage to talk about your anxiety and depression? Because a lot of people are so afraid to be judged just by publicly saying those type of things.
Absolutely. It's actually helped my panic attacks or my anxiety to actually talk about it with other people, so that I know that I'm not the only one suffering by myself. It is taking me very many years to actually be open and positive about it, because oftentimes with mental illness or having this sort of issue, like you've mentioned, it's a negative stigma with people, and people look at you like, oh, you just need to get over it, or like you just need to get out of your head. Like, it is a whole other state of being, and to be understood by other people makes me feel better. And if it makes me feel better, then I have a feeling that other people can feel better, knowing that there's somebody out there who's suffering from the literal same thing. And I don't know about you, but I appreciate hearing other people's story and how they reacted to something or how they dealt with something, because maybe it's different than the way I did it, and maybe I should try that approach and see if that worked. And if we all actually came together to talk about our different experiences and what helped and what didn't help, we might actually be better as a society, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's especially hard in where we are, because we don't even have proper laws on mental health. We don't have any coverages for that. It's not something that they're focusing on, and it's it's becoming increasingly hard to talk about these issues. And one of the primary reasons that I love Tabletop so much is because it for me it became an avenue to express yourself and to do all these things and get all of the emotional benefit and rewards for it without the social costs of making a mistake, because it's the character, but you still get the real emotions. So if you're comfortable, do you have a moment that you can share where that was the case for you, where there was something happening to you or maybe happened in the past in the real world that you were able to deal with, get closure on, or just generally be able to fix, or not fix, but relive and relieve yourself of it because of playing a character or a game?
Yeah, actually, I think I mentioned it earlier a little bit, or alluded to it a little bit. So, as Nellie dealing with the Chaz situation, it didn't start off like that per se, and by means, I want to make this distinction. Chaz is not the person that I dealt with in my own past, but again, I reiterate, Chaz is not that person. But the emotions that became attached to that situation paralleled some of the stuff that I dealt with a few years ago, and not necessarily to that extent. That we because with the whole Chaz situation is very dramatized and all that jazz. This is a little more of a cute situation, but utilizing the emotions that I felt and never really got closure on that situation, other than at that point I literally saw off that person in my life, just blocked everything, couldn't deal with it. Having this moment to take those emotions and put it into the game with Chaz really helped to give closure. I was crying visibly at the very end of that whole episode, because it was finally something that I was able to just let go. So I go back to that line that you guys heard me say, and I don't remember because I was super dealing with these emotions. that was literally the thing that I wanted to say to that person. And like, there was like, so it was just, it was cathartic for me to be able to take those emotions and put it into that situation. And boy, howdy, was I scared.
I mean,
yeah.
can I just say that I primarily know you from because I watched Sirens before I got into LA by Night. So I primarily know you from there because I was following Satine Phoenix a lot. But Soul, Nellie G, no matter the character you were on screen, you were one of the people I kind of looked up to in terms of the role playing, in terms of RPGs. I mean, everyone's always going to talk about Critical Role and those guys, but they're all professional voice actors. You expect them to be good. And then there's you, where I looked you up, and a dancer, not really that much of a speaker, and yet you bring this to the table, and I looked up to you for that. But after talking to you today, there's a whole new reason why I look up to you. Again, same boat, and I appreciate everything you've said, and yeah, there's a whole new reason for me to look up to you now. I just wanted to get that out there.
Thank you. You're gonna make me cry. Thank you.
Sorry, if we could just...
It's been a long journey with anxiety.
Yeah, right there with you. And again, it's hard to talk about it, to be open about it, and sometimes you just have to be. And you're absolutely right. The community would be so much better if people could just both talk, and if there were people that would actually listen, and actually really actively listen, and not just say that they're going to listen, but it happens a lot. So again, I really appreciate everything that you said, just beyond the players and beyond you being a gamer and a nerd like every one of us, really looking up to you right now.
Thank you.
Another thing that I wanted to ask is about the this is kind of weird to go back to after such a heavy topic, but to lighten things up a bit. Yeah, to lighten things up a bit, it's like Nellie G becoming Baron of Hollywood. I think that wasn't planned, but were you at least given the heads up, given the relationship with Abrams, were you expecting this to happen at some point?
Yes. So it's actually written on my character sheet. My story arc was the Baroness. So from day one, I was like, yes, I'm ready to be the Baroness. What the wrench was, and I think maybe you guys might have seen my face crack a little bit there, was when Victor became Baron before me. I was like, no!
That actually got to me, because we talked to Dave about it, and he was like, "No, that wasn't planned. That was all me." It's like, I found a way to blackmail this guy. It's like,
I was like, when that happened, I was just like, no!
And then there was Alex Ward playing Jasper, who was just like, "I don't want any of this."
Poor thing.
Because
he's getting dragged into that regardless.
Because we talked to Dave about it, and he was like, he actually told us a little behind the scenes about how he talked to Jason Crow and said, would it derail your game if we killed Abrams? Like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, but would it ruin the game if we killed Abrams? It's like, oh man.
Yes, it would.
That would have, if that's the case.
He had a story about how his gun was gold-plated because of a model that Erica Ishii bought for him, and then he just said the gun is gold-plated now. So he actually talked a lot about how Erica influenced some of the decisions that were made, like having a helicopter. So I was like, has Erica actually done anything for you that forced a decision to be made about Nellie? Or was that just Dave being...
calling me mom.
Oh yeah, that's stuck.
Has she forced anything? I mean, outside of all of those comments of mom, and I'm just like, all right, well, fuck it, I'm gonna embrace this situation. I think it's been actually opposite for me. It's the lack of action that Erica takes is what gets Nellie to go do something, right? So she ended up killing the vampire that turned or that bit Annabelle for the first time, right? Because Annabelle couldn't do it. Or when, spoiler alert, again, if you're not caught up on season 4, when Annabelle couldn't kill X, right? And she just takes off, like that moment there, like that was a huge, that was a huge, crazy moment that in decision, I was like, Cynthia would not do this, but Nellie would. So like, let's go.
Like I was wondering about that. Like leap, blink, leap, blink. Like she can't keep this up, can she?
I was so mad. I was so mad that I couldn't like keep up with her. I was so close. It was my rolls. It was that last roll. I was just like, no.
The dice is sometimes the enemy.
The dice
are. That's why I got new dice. Those dice are
buy more dice.
Are you sure you're not?
Exactly.
Are you sure you're not just justifying being a dice goblin, because that's what we all do here?
Oh, this is literally just sitting. This is part of my collection right now. Like,
oh my god.
I can show you the Toreador one. They're somewhere like over in this vicinity, but I have so many dice. I don't need to justify being a dice goblin because god damn it, it's good to be a dice goblin.
It is. Thank you for the validation.
Yes.
Here's something I want to ask. The reason I'm so anxious, and I think we're so anxious about season 5, is that season 4 ended on such a note, unlike the previous seasons. It ended on the worst cliffhanger of all the seasons. For me personally, it is the worst. It was really good, but it was the worst feeling ever to end it on that note, with all the epilogues, with Alex Ward's character and Xander just kind of going down into the ocean, and then with all the unresolved tension, with Annabelle running off, again, spoilers, but you should have watched it by now. With Annabelle running off with Carver, it's like, it was the absolute worst to have to bear with the ending like that. Like, it was horrible. It was like, but I want to ask something, is that you foresaw Nellie becoming Baron. When it came, when the time came to take up the mantle, were you also conflicted? Because sometimes even though you see it coming, you're not really sure if you're ready or if you're fully prepared. So was that feeling also there for you as a player to take on this new role for Nellie, and for you playing Nellie taking on Baron? Was it?
Absolutely, I was freaked out. Because I was like, I don't have so I approach a lot of my characters with a lot of research. I work in a technical field outside of live streaming, so that's part of my job. I do tons of research. I come back with the best possible solution on things, and I keep on rolling. So when we did season 4, we filmed back to back. Like, they were super fast filming. There wasn't a whole lot of time for me to do research, although I probably should have done more research between seasons 1 and 3. We won't go there to like how I messed that up maybe. But yeah, I was thoroughly freaked out. I was not ready for any of it. And actually what was part frustrating for me as a player, but fed really well into the show, was how many characters kept asking me, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do as Baron? What are you going to do as Baron? I was just like, I don't know. It just happened a night ago. Calm down.
And apparently the answer was throw a party.
Yes. Apparently the answer was, thank you. Yeah. So what's funny is you guys may have seen the progression as me as a player I was trying to answer like Victor. How are you going to become Baron? I was like, I have all these things, blah, 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 right? Nines asked me, how are you plan on being a different Baron? Like, by the time I got to the Prince, where he was like, so what are you going to do? I was just like, fuck you, dude. Like, I don't need to tell you.
That was great.
I don't owe you anything.
Huge MU to his face. That was great.
To be fair, I swear to God, when I said all that stuff to the Prince, I thought Nellie was gonna die right there.
And I was incredibly brave.
And he was still unstable.
Yeah.
He was still...
That moment, I gotta talk about it real quick. I don't know if you guys have ever had the moment where you say something, you can see the words, and you're like, no.
Please.
And then
Wait.
To be
And then
honest,
Jason's reaction to it, I was just like, shit, I fucked up.
I was expecting like this is gonna be another rescue mission. She's gonna be tied up on the Hollywood Owen, and they're gonna have to rescue her, and they're gonna float a helicopter again. It's like- Jay, I think you want to ask something.
Yeah, like I was gonna ask, cause like your dynamic with Victor and the Nines, yes, that's like very big. But I would like to ask, how does Nellie see her coterie individually, like her family? How does she see them?
Per person.
That's a good question. Who do you want me to start with?
I think Victor's the
as a-
vaguest.
Victor,
If you can give
Victor
a
is-
slightly less vague.
a vague, yeah.
Victor's her ride or die.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys caught that. He is like, there is no definition of their relationship, and there's no extent to what each other will probably do for one another. I don't know at what level of love you can call it, and I don't think it needs to be called anything. But they like, the best way to explain them is they're ride or die. Like, they may be mad at each other or get angry at each other, but at the end of the day, if one of them's being threatened and one of them's gonna die, the other one's gonna go and like take that person out who's trying to threaten them. So yeah, that's her ride or die.
What about Jasper? Toreador
Jasper.
Nosferatu. The dynamic between the Toreador and Nosferatu. I feel like of all my years of playing VTM, it's like you guys embody that dynamic kind of well.
Thanks.
What-
Thanks.
What's the real view for Nellie's perspective?
So that's been an interesting evolution from season 1 to season 4, because season 1 you really got to see the shallowness of Nellie play out, and I really wanted people to see that, like what, like the facade of what a Toreador is, and then like really start peeling back the petals to see like the inside of that flower, right? So with dealing with the Nosferatu, automatically it's very easy to go like, oh, you're gross. Oh, I don't look at you. And that's really a game mechanic for Toreador, right? Because back in the day, like that was like, if, and still is, I believe, in V5, if you're in an environment or surrounded by disgusting things, you actually
Get
lose
penalties.
your social capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So why not play into that sort of role play? So between season 1 and season 2, I would say her relationship to Jasper didn't change until he saved her sister.
Right.
And at that point, she really viewed Jasper less as a contact and more of, wow, this person, like, he may act like he doesn't care about me, but in an instance like this, he actually is willing to step up and help. And so I feel like Nellie has this idea of she owes him one, which is kind of what you see in season 4 when he asks about like his living arrangements and like where Abrams is gone. Are we going to still have that same dynamic? And yeah, that was Nellie definitely looking at him and being like, I owe you one, you know? Her decision to go fight for him on the Hollywood sign, like that's part of her coterie, right? So it wasn't necessarily like, hey, I owe you one personally, but that was like, that's my coterie, you're not fucking with my coterie, sort of situation. But yeah, she has her ups and downs with him, and that's to be expected, right? Like a brother-sister relationship. But I think she looks at him and does not agree with most of his decisions, but is not going to say anything otherwise because that's her coterie. And in the end, if her coterie looks weak, she looks weak.
Not gonna contradict when he wants to lock someone up in a cage.
No, I mean, I have my own specific rules. Better not be like some kid or like, yeah. So yeah, we'll discuss that later. What those parameters are.
Jay, sorry.
How about Annabelle though?
Yeah.
That is a very, very interesting situation. I did not see it develop into this mother-daughter relationship, but I'm very appreciative of how it has come out because I like seeing two very strong women never tear each other down but build each other up. And I've tried my best outside of a few key NPCs to not tear them down specifically, because it's all about coming together as a group and building each other up. We already are living in this world of darkness. There's already too much darkness in there, and so you've got to find a little bit of light. And I feel like Annabelle's that little bit of light for Nellie. She's giving her that hope and that renew of, I can be human in this horrible situation that I'm in. And maybe it's not that horrible to Nellie, but it certainly, Annabelle's provided that sort of light and that purpose for Nellie to keep moving.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's always a need for someone to remind you how to be human, even the real world. Sometimes you just can't feel that. My question here is that when you were making Nellie G, I'm assuming you drew off of some modeling experience, your love for fashion. So this is just for the pure lols, because I wanted to know, how badly did it actually hurt you when, I think it was season 1 when she decided in game on the name for your new perfume line?
Yeah.
Because when I first heard the name, Erika Ishii on screen just scream anticipation. It's like,
Anticipation.
oh no.
It's so bad yet so good at this.
I wanted to ask, outside of Nellie G, because we know how Nellie G reacted to that. How did you, as a former model and fashionista and person who likes clothing and all of that, how did you find that name specifically?
Oh, you saw Cynthia's reaction on the show. Oh, I'm not gonna lie on that one. But you know what? I'm happy with it. Whatever. It is what it is now, and I'm just rolling with it.
By the time I was watching LA by Night, I already knew that you were into fashion as a person, and I figured that I was inspiration for energy. It's like, I always wonder, it's like, how do you find this as a person, that name? How do you find it?
I was not terribly happy, but hey, you know what? If everybody who's watching it got a good laugh at it, then cool.
We did.
Sign in my book.
But I felt so sorry for Nellie G's, like, the reaction in the face, like, yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're going a little over here. That's apologies.
It's okay.
For that,
I glitched out, so it's fine.
I want to ask something. I want to talk because we've been focused so much on BTM. I wanted to touch on Sirens for a bit, and I just love the dynamic with Girso and the others. And I can't remember in season 1, but I think you were I think you caught up. You weren't there from the literal beginning of Sirens, or were you? I'm a little. No, sorry, that's my bad.
Oh, there we go. There you
Come back.
Sorry. So my question was that I can't remember, but on Sirens, you weren't there in the very first season, or you weren't there for the very start, right?
I was season 2.
Right, that's right. So I wanted to ask is that the dynamic between all of them is it's really great. It's really fun to watch, and it's fun to know that, you know, it's not just the professional voice actors that can do this and entertain and everything, and I want to ask that, do you know where the idea came from of this all-girl bard group started?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you know what Satine was thinking when this was conceptualized? Because I wanted to know behind the scenes how that came to be.
So from my understanding, and truly I will leave it to Satine. I'm sure she's mentioned it in a few interviews, and by golly, you guys should try to interview if you can get an interview with her. But it really was that she wanted to be surrounded by powerful and awesome women who happened to be her friends, and she wanted to DM a show with her friends. And so the idea of the Sirens just kind of came out. That's pretty much what I understand it to be.
And
I'm thoroughly happy to be a part of it.
And how did it end up being all bard? Is my next question.
Honestly, I think it was just she wanted that idea of all of us being bards. I've never really actually asked her that question. Why? I should ask her. Hold on, I'm a text her.
Ask her for us. um, it was curious to me because one, all girl groups, definitely all for it. I love the representation. I love how it is. I've lesser known, but there was an old stream called Roll for Damage, also all girls, and I really love that one. But what I was really curious about is where did the decision to make an all bard group come from? Because when I started playing, if someone told me we're gonna do this, but you're all gonna be bards, it's like I'm scared. I would be absolutely terrified. Like everyone's a bard. How? How is this gonna work? Like,
I mean, obviously it's chaotic.
yes, especially with I don't know. Personally, I think I find Vivid's character the most chaotic in terms of how they act.
Oh my god, yeah, she is the most. She's the chaos fae.
It's just a bundle of chaos there. But another thing I want to ask about that is when you're playing with them, or even in LA by Night, is it easy to forget that you're on camera? Is it easy for you, given that everyone you're around and how you do it? Is it easy to forget that you're on camera and you're just kind of playing a game? Does it ever? What I'm asking is, does it ever get easier? Does it ever feel like it's just a home game, or it's just a game where you're having fun and you're just playing it out, or does it always pressure you that you're on camera? Does it get to you?
So that's kind of a twofold question there, or twofold answer that I'll give you. Yes, it gets easier. No, you never forget you're on camera because there's 3 or 4 cameras and a whole crew sitting in front of you, like doing this and like fixing this, and so like no, you don't forget. Especially with Vampire, we're in a full studio, or we were in a full studio. So you constantly see like all like this other like activity going on around you while like you're in being a role player. And same thing with Sirens, right? Like you have a whole other crew that's dealing with all of the background scenery, and very grateful for those people in the background. Like I can't emphasize that enough. Lighting designers, sound mixers, people who are working with the Twitch stream, chatting with everybody in the chat. Like it is an entire army to pull together like an entire show. So just because like you see us 4, 5, 6 faces, like doesn't mean that like we're the be all end of the show. Like there's all these people in the background who are like superb and amazing. But like, so no, I don't ever forget that I'm on camera because I know that there's other people who are working in the background that I need to be on for. It does get easier when you become comfortable with the people around you, and so you understand the situation you're in, and you just kind of block it out as fast as possible and just go for it. But I will say that, as a side note, especially in Sirens as a bard, I'm not very funny. And so when everybody else gets the reaction from the crew of like getting laughs from the jokes, I'm just sitting here like, all right, how do I make people laugh? How do I do this? So
I think we find you pretty funny.
Oh, thanks. I try.
We enjoyed talking. Jay?
I would like to ask as well. Like you talked about the crew and all. Like if there's one thing I remember about the setting of LA by Night, it's always that flickering light. Is it like scripted, or is it actually just flickering every now and then?
Frick. Okay, so that light situation. I'm gonna call out our amazing lighting designer, Joey Rasul. He is incredible with his lighting technique. Like he really signed on. I believe season 3 is where you guys started seeing different types of lighting for us. That flickering light. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know the full story because I know that Jason plans lighting cues. With Joey on the side, so like the opening of season 3, where the whole fire situation happened. None of us knew that was gonna happen. So to actually visibly feel like the heat of the lights like come up, I was just like, oh shit, like this is real. Like I gotta like do something here. So with the flickering light, I actually don't know if that was just a flickering light or were they really messing with us.
Because
It's
I
kind of stuck with
remember,
me because every time it flickers, like everyone says like there's a construction going on in the club, and I was like, I'm convinced, yes.
because Victor keeps blaming that one ghoul. It's like, Campbell, fix this light. It's like, I
Campbell.
are you familiar with the term Chekhov's gun? It's a term in the narrative where you don't mention something unless it's going to be used. I for the entire season I thought that was it. I thought that light is going to be important at some point. That light is going to be important.
Yeah.
He mentions it so often that it has to be.
Sombros.
Something must be
I
happening.
thought it was going to be important too.
So it's been wonderful having you. Before we finish, I wanted to ask you step away from the nerdiness for a bit because again, I'm starting to look up to you for everything that you've gone through and everything you survived. If you could give a message to people like you, people like me who are going through a tough time, or just anyone who's going through a really hard time right now, if you could just give like a message, something to keep their spirits up, especially in a time like this where it's mostly needed.
Absolutely. So the first thing that I will tell everybody to remember to do is just breathe. That's probably the hardest thing for those of us who suffer from anxiety and depression, to remember that you have to breathe. Especially in a panic attack where you start feeling your heart beating really fast and you start sweating and you start getting in your head about, oh God, all of these things are happening to me. You just take a moment to just breathe and really concentrate on your breathing capability. It's really going to help assess how you're feeling in that moment. The best purchase I ever had was the Apple Watch, because it actually has the app to remind you to breathe. So that's been an incredible saver. But outside of remembering to breathe, remember all of the good things that are happening in your life. And if you can't remember one, here's one: you're alive. Go with it. Everything else can be fixed. The fact that you are alive and you are able to function the way that you can, everything else can be fixed at some point or another. So remember to breathe and remember that you're alive. And I think if we can all just kind of push through that, everything else is, how does RuPaul say it? You're born naked and everything else is just drag. Like that, that to me is kind of a thing, right? Like we're all born, we're all here, and the rest of it can really be fixed. You just have to remember to put the time and the work into it, and depending on how much you want to fix or not fix. But remember to breathe, and remember that we're all human and you're staying alive. But I do have one other message, though. I really do. So Jay, I heard that it's your birthday coming up, or it's your birthday today. So I wanted to say happy birthday to you, and I hope that you have another fantastic and successful year around the sun, because hey, even though we're in a pandemic, like, you're alive, you look awesome, you have a cool podcast going on here, and like I could just see you being successful and awesome. So happy birthday, hon.
Thank you. It means so much for me.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much to everyone watching. Thank you so
Anytime,
much,
you guys.
Cynthia Marie, for being on, for being so friendly and so accommodating. We are so thankful for you to be here. And good night, good morning, and good day to wherever you are in the world.
Yay!